What if everything you thought you knew about money, inflation, and the economy was a lie? What if the very institution tasked with protecting your savings, your jobs, your pensions, your mortgages, was secretly engineering a hidden theft right under your nose? In 1979, the Federal Reserve recorded internal memos showing a staggering, almost unimaginable reality. Inflation wasn't just high, it was nearly 98%. That's right, prices nearly doubled in secret, while the Fed reported much lower numbers to the public, creating the illusion of stability. But here's the kicker. This wasn't just a miscalculation. It was deliberate. Imagine your salary frozen, your savings evaporating, and your debt climbing all, while elite financiers quietly reaped unimaginable gains from a rigged system. This isn't history for history's sake. This is your money. This is your life. Sound familiar? Before we dive deeper, I want to know, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. And if you want the unfiltered truth, hit subscribe, because we're uncovering what mainstream media will never tell you. Today, the shadow of that 1979 cover-up is alive and well. From the rising cost of groceries to your rent, the same mechanisms are quietly redistributing wealth upward. What happened then is not ancient history, it's the blueprint for the financial world you navigate today. And what comes next is far worse. Let's start with the official story. In the late 1970s, America faced high but manageable inflation. Oil shocks, energy crises, and poor policy supposedly created temporary discomfort. Public records claimed inflation hovered around 12%, while wage growth struggled to keep pace. Sound familiar? Forward 40 years. And official inflation numbers often underestimate the real rise in costs for essentials like housing, healthcare, and education. Just like in 1979, the public bears the brunt while the elites insulate themselves. Here's the hidden history inside the Fed. Internal memos documented inflation rates that were nearly 98%, a staggering level of price distortion. The gap between reality and public perception allowed banks and hedge funds to leverage secret advantages, moving trillions while the average American lost purchasing power. Sound familiar? It's the same playbook used in 2008. Mortgage-backed securities, derivatives, and shadow banking allowed certain institutions to profit while millions lost their homes and jobs. The system appears normal on the surface, but beneath it, a hidden wealth transfer operates just as it did in 1979. Let's rewind further. The Fed's manipulation wasn't an isolated accident. During the 1970s, interest rates were artificially controlled. Real inflation far exceeded nominal rates. Pension funds, small investors, and everyday workers were effectively paying for the short-term profits of elite banks. Sound familiar? Even today, when central banks tweak interest rates, the trickle-down effect favors financial institutions first, not Main Street. In short, history repeats, but the public rarely notices. From 1979's hidden inflation to today's quiet money printing, the Fed's strategy has been shockingly consistent. Conceal the truth, manipulate perception, and quietly transfer wealth upward. And we are just scratching the surface. Here's where it gets truly shocking. The key mechanism behind this 98% inflation cover-up was just dodgy method with strategic money supply engineering. A hidden network linking the Federal Reserve to shadow banking entities and leveraged hedge funds. The Fed had access to internal reporting metrics unavailable to the public. These memos revealed a choice: report the real inflation, crash the market, and face political fallout, manipulate the numbers, stabilize perception, and quietly transfer wealth to the elite. Think about that. The very institution you trusted as the guardian of financial stability was executing a silent wealth raid. Meanwhile, the average American was losing purchasing power, one paycheck at a time. The moral hazard is staggering. Decision-makers benefited personally from policies that actively harmed the public. And it wasn't just domestic. Through secret swap lines with foreign central banks and covert credit operations, the Fed ensured that European and Japanese banks also protected elite investments. By the end of 1979, trillions had been shifted globally without a single public acknowledgement. But here's the twist you won. TC in textbooks. One of the memos highlighted a particular hedge fund that exploited this artificially suppressed public inflation data. The returns, over 1,200% in under 2 years. That's not an exaggeration. That's documented in the internal Fed archives. And now, the cliffhanger. You want to believe the name of the financier who orchestrated the largest concealed transfer in U.S. history. The receipt of this operation. Far more audacious than anyone imagined. You think you know about inflation? Think again. For decades, a secret has been buried deep inside the Federal Reserve's archives. Today, we're digging it up. What if I told you that in 1979, while the government reported 12% inflation, an internal Fed memo calculated the real rate at a staggering 98%? This isn't just a historical curiosity. It's the blueprint for a massive silent wealth transfer that's still happening right now. Stick with me because we're about to uncover exactly how this was engineered and why it's more relevant today than ever before. It all started with step 1, masking the truth. The Fed's official consumer price index, the CPI, wasn't telling the whole story. They deliberately excluded volatile sectors like energy, food, and housing from their main calculations. So, while your grocery bills were skyrocketing and the cost of filling your gas tank was becoming unbearable, the official numbers looked manageable. This created a massive gap between reality and perception. The public saw a 12% inflation rate, a serious problem for sure, but internal Fed documents painted a far darker picture. Real inflation was hitting 98%. The pain you felt in your wallet was real. The official story was a carefully constructed illusion. Next came step 2, interest rate manipulation. The Federal Reserve has the power to set short-term interest rates, and in the late 70s, they used this power to their advantage. Who benefited? A select group of banks and hedge funds with insider access to the Fed's future plans. They knew when rates would change before anyone else. This allowed them to borrow money at artificially low rates and then invest it in high-yield assets, generating massive profits. Meanwhile, ordinary Americans were getting crushed by soaring interest rates on their mortgages, car loans, and credit cards. It was a rigged game from the start. Then came step 3, the rise of shadow banking. This is where things get even murkier. Non-bank financial institutions, like hedge funds and specialized investment vehicles, exploited these distortions in the system. They moved vast sums of money through complex networks of offshore entities, completely outside the view of regular oversight. By doing this, they were able to capitalize on the hidden, real inflation that the Fed was covering up, turning it into speculative gains on a scale never seen before. They weren't just playing the game. They were operating in a different dimension, one where the rules didn't apply. Let's look at the staggering numbers behind this wealth transfer. Step 4, quantifying the heist. In just the first year of this scheme, average Americans lost an estimated $10 billion in purchasing power. Their savings were being silently eroded. While families struggled, select hedge funds that exploited this hidden inflation saw returns of up to 1,200%. The internal Fed memos admitted to 98% actual inflation. An estimated $2 trillion in covertly leveraged assets were protected by the central bank's actions. The period between 1979 and 1981 witnessed one of the largest and quietest wealth transfers in modern American history. But it wasn't just about the money. Step 5 was psychological and systemic manipulation. The Fed created an illusion of stability. By reporting lower inflation figures, they maintained public trust in banks and the financial system. People were encouraged to save their money in bank accounts that were, in real terms, losing value every single day. When the public grew anxious, politicians didn't point to the central bank's actions. Instead, They blamed external crisis, oil shocks, international conflicts, anything to divert attention from the real mechanism at play. Fear and confusion were powerful tools that ensured the public remained compliant. Let me give you a real-world analogy to make this crystal clear. Step 6. The rigged Monopoly game. Imagine you're playing a game of Monopoly. You're playing by the rules, buying properties, collecting rent, but one player has a secret advantage. They know that the banker is secretly printing extra money, devaluing all the cash and properties on the board. While your net worth shrinks, their hotels seem to grow in value exponentially. That's exactly what happened in the real world. Ordinary Americans were playing by the rules, working, paying taxes, servicing their debts, while a financial elite, armed with insider knowledge, quietly siphoned away trillions of dollars. Now you might be thinking, that was over 40 years ago. What does it have to do with me? Everything? Step 7. The modern parallels. Fast forward to today. Look at the policies of the last decade. Quantitative easing, near-zero interest rates for megabanks, and a sprawling, opaque market for derivatives. It's the same blueprint, just upgraded for the 21st century. The difference now is technology. Digital banking and global financial networks make these wealth transfers faster, more hidden, and orders of magnitude larger than anything seen in 1979. The mechanisms are the same, but the scale is global. This brings us to Step 8, the emotional and moral weight. Words like greed, illusion, and parasitic finance aren't just abstract concepts. They are the very forces that define our modern economy. The 1979 cover-up is a perfect illustration of moral hazard on an epic scale. You have elite actors profiting from a system they control, while ordinary citizens unknowingly subsidize their wealth and bear all the risk. This engineered collapse didn't end in the 80s. It continues today, amplified and accelerated by globalization. The lessons from 1979 are painfully clear. The hidden financial levers used back then are not only alive today, they are more powerful than ever. Inflation can be masked, interest rates can be manipulated, and wealth can be quietly redistributed on a global scale at a speed that is almost impossible to track. The system has become faster, more interconnected, and far more opaque. When the next major wave of economic turbulence hits, and it will, the consequences won't be contained to one country. They will cascade worldwide. Millions of people are now unknowingly tied to these invisible high-stakes wealth transfer mechanisms. Denial is dangerous. Trusting institutions that were built on borrowed time, manipulated perceptions. And an engineered advantage is simply an invitation to repeat history on a much grander scale. The fundamental moral hazard remains. Those in power profit from the risks, while the public is left to bear the costs. So, the final lesson is a philosophical one, but it's urgent. Ask yourself, are we any wiser now, or are we just walking the same path in better suits? The 1979 cover-up wasn't an anomaly. It was the blueprint for global financial domination achieved quietly, invisibly, and without our consent. If this video has exposed even a fraction of what's truly happening behind the curtain, share it. Make someone else you know question the official narrative. Subscribe for more unfiltered financial truths that the mainstream won't touch. Together, we can begin to see the mechanisms, understand the stakes, and maybe, just maybe, start to reclaim what has been quietly stolen from all of us. Because the truth isn't just a history lesson. It's in your wallet, it's in your job, and it's in your future. And it's hiding in plain sight. Thanks for watching.